Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Rodney.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of superhero television or film. And this week we are talking about Season 1. I guess presumably there would be a Season 2. I don't know why I would qualify it, but we're talking about WandaVision.
I'm not sure if there's a Season 2.
Yeah.
The last episode is called Series Finale.
Series. It's not called Season Finale?
No, it was called Series Finale.
That's the episode title. Interesting. Interesting.
I don't consider episode titles a spoiler, by the way.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are listed.
Yeah, well, I even caught as I was saying it aloud just now. That was the first time it came out of my mouth. This was Season 1 of WandaVision, and I hadn't really thought about if this was Season 1 or the series.
WandaVision.
But this
the limited
is,
series WandaVision.
Yeah, this is 8 episodes of WandaVision is what we're talking about. Yeah, it hadn't even occurred to me
that there could be a Season 2. Yeah.
Or that there could not be, you know?
You just hadn't even contemplated.
Well, yeah, because your default position with any given television show, unless it's sold as a limited edition or a short series or something like that, the default is your presumption is that if it does well, you get a Season 2. This being as big and monumental as it is, it's the MCU, it's Disney, it's their first really big Marvel thing on Disney Plus. You assume it's a success, so you assume a Season 2.
You do, but at the same time, it's such a new thing because these are movie characters in a TV show. So Do you assume a Season 2 or do you assume another movie? There's other places they can go.
Right.
It's weird. The MCU is doing brand new things all over the place.
This is strange because it's definitively going to be successful. There's no scenario in which people weren't watching this.
We are fully aware people were because we couldn't go on Twitter every Friday for several hours.
Nobody could. Nobody could.
We were all banned from Twitter until you watched WandaVision.
And streaming numbers are a shit show. It really, anything is successful if the streaming provider decides it's so, because they can just fudge those numbers, and it's anarchy on streaming. But yeah, I presumed, wow, this is kind of freaking me out. I hadn't really thought about whether or not there would be a Season 2 or this was the entirety of it.
You seem messed up.
I'm a little messed up.
Are you too messed up to go into a spoiler-free review of WandaVision?
I am not. So
Excellent.
Let's go into a spoiler-free review. I'm going to presume that if people even hit play on this episode, they are strapped in, locked and loaded, and ready to go. But out of respect and habit, when it's a new property, we like to give a spoiler-free review in case anyone's on the fence or uncertain. So spoiler-free review, did you like it?
I loved this show. I think it was phenomenal. I think it landed the comedy when it was a comedy. It landed the drama incredibly well when it was a drama. The action was really fun. This was, by every means, a huge success. An incredible, enjoyable watch. Very satisfying ending. Arced well. I was interested the whole time. I adored this show. Andrew, did you like it?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I have a hard time thinking who this show is not for.
Ooh.
That's the level of quality that this show provides, and I think the accessibility, even though it can be high concept, and it certainly is high concept and can be picked apart and gone in depth and detail for TV nerds, but it's just accessible and addictive and fun, but also emotionally grounded in a certain way. Unlike any other MCU property, it is really hard for me to pinpoint who this is not for. Because even great things that Marvel has done in this universe, like one of our favorites, I think, is Winter Soldier.
Ah, wonderful movie.
Yeah, Captain America, Winter Soldier, wonderful movie. But that's a movie where I'm like, it's fantastic, it's amazing, it's a great spy thriller. And if someone was like, I actually am not into that genre, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's not for you.
Maybe you just want more of a Thor comedy. I get that. It's not for you.
Yeah, this is for everyone. It's so good and varied.
It's so good and varied. You made such a great point about how accessible it is because, I won't get too deep into it, but it's based on such a complicated comic book storyline that they easily could have made it very inaccessible and really bogged down, but they really kept the story so simple. They focused on the title characters, WandaVision. That's exactly what it is. And you just are on this journey with them, and it's one of the there are Easter eggs, but you don't feel like you need to know what they are as you're watching the show, which is a nice change.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's It's wonderful. They did a fantastic job.
And even from the amount of people that like I'd seen people online talking about watching this when they hadn't seen all the Marvel movies and like having questions and wondering what's going on, but they're watching it and they're engaged and they like the tweets and posts that I see from people who are watching it who aren't entrenched in this Marvel universe. They're not watching it just to be part of this moment or cultural zeitgeist or because people are talking about it. Maybe that's why they hit play the first time, but they're legitimately engaged. And it is, I agree with you, one of the most complicated bananas and everything comic book storylines. But by somehow by being that bananas, it becomes really grounded and simple.
Yeah, and it is easy to not know these characters. Two characters who have never been mains, who were, Infinity War was 2017 now, and that's the last time they were together, or 2018 maybe?
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, if you're a casual MCU watcher, Wanda and Vision have just gone off the radar for you. Like, I think I remembered something at the end of Infinity War with them, probably. Like, they've never resonated until now. So, like, it is easy to pick up, but it's also easy to not remember them.
Yeah, it's so
remember them at all.
It's so easy to not remember them. Like famously, Paul Bettany forgot he was in them.
Yes, Paul Bettany forgot he was Jarvis for about 2 movies. He'd do interviews.
Yeah.
And someone would ask him an Iron Man question, and he would look them in the eye and say, "Why are you asking me about Iron Man?" They'd be like, "You're in it." He's like, "Oh, yes, I'm in Iron Man."
On multiple occasions, Paul Bettany has forgot and in earnest said, "I'm not in those movies," because he forgot he was only a voice.
Until they made him a body.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'm here.
Yeah, so to say that they could be, for the casual observer, forgettable, they're forgettable to the actors who played them to a certain degree.
I can't wait for 10 years from now. Paul Bettany does an interview, and they're like, "Tell us about WandaVision." She's like, "What's that?"
Like, I don't remember
What was
being...
WandaVision?
Maybe Paul Bettany has problems. Maybe we need to check in on Bettany.
Him and Gwen Paltrow hanging out together too
They
much.
have no clue
Both
where
their
they are at
memories
any
just
given time.
gone.
Oh, my. So we clearly love it, and can it be spoiled?
Oh my God. Yes.
So much yes.
If you have been on the internet and don't know the spoilers, you must have the best muted words of all times, or you're on some weird dark web shit where WandaVision doesn't exist, or you're on the most basic internet. You're like, I dial google.com in every day. I don't go on social media. I don't know how you've missed the spoilers.
Right. I use my dial-up to log on to the library website. Like, that is all you do or something. Yeah.
But huge spoilers for this show.
Yeah. It's all spoilers back to back. And not only is it spoilers for fans of the MCU and of comics, but also just in traditional storytelling sense and twists and turns that come along the way. There is no scenario in which this isn't spoiler filled.
Yeah, that's a great point. Not just MCU fans, like just if you're enjoying the show on its own, full of spoilers.
It's still full of spoilers. So there will be spoilers in this episode. Once you hear the theme song, that is when it becomes a free-for-all and when we're just going to be spoiler, just dropping out of our mouth.
You get a spoiler. We're Oprahing spoilers.
Left and right. Yeah, just bees. They're coming everywhere. That's a reference to a very specific Conan O'Brien sketch / a GIF.
I think we've all seen the GIF.
We've all seen the Oprah Bees GIF?
2 out of 2 people here have seen the Oprah Bees GIF.
All right. And if you haven't, y'all, just search Oprah
Oprah.
Bees in a GIF keyboard of some kind, and you'll have a good time. But before we get into the spoiler section of today's episode, we want to thank one of our wonderful sponsors of today's episode. It is Manscaped.
It is Manscaped, and unless you're a carbon-based synthezoid, you need something to shave your downstairs area.
Ooh, yeah, that's right. Vision probably doesn't need to do this.
Vision's the only person who doesn't need Manscaped.
He might be the only one.
He might be the only one. Everyone else listening? Check out Manscaped for your grooming needs.
If you can phase into the earth, you probably you're smooth down there naturally.
I think he also can change from human to
it's like a Ken doll.
Whatever he is.
No, he probably has business.
Does he have that?
Does he have the business? Does he have the D?
This is a topic of great debate on the internet,
but
not right now.
For us humans, we have it. We have the business, all right? We've got hair down there, and we don't want it. So Manscaped is the product to help you just clean up the family jewels, get everything under control, and they're fantastically well made. They're well priced. I really like the look, the design. It's a no-nick system as well, so I haven't cut myself. I haven't injured myself. I'm having a great time.
I love you uncut and uninjured and hair-free. It's how I really enjoy you. And it's also not just for below the waist. They have an ear and nose trimmer, the Weed Whacker, which is wonderful. Like hair in places that it's too long is not good.
Yeah, no, you don't want it in the nose. You don't want it in the ear. The Weed Whacker is awesome. It's also waterproof, and it's got a really powerful motor and this 360-degree rotary blade system, but it also has got like gentle guards. So like I'll just jam it in. Like the Weed Whacker, I'm just jamming it in my nose. That nose is clean. Like that bad boy's ready to go in seconds. That's the other thing I like about the design of the Manscaped products is that it's just easy to use. It's simple. It's stress-free. I love it. They also have their new performance package, which is just like a kit of ultimate men's hygiene products. And that bundle that includes the Weed Whacker, which is fantastic. It also includes their lawnmower, which is the trimmer for your balls, your butt, your body, your booty, whatever you need.
Everything
trimmed.
that starts with a B.
If it starts with a B, you can trim it. That is legally not true. Don't hold me to that. But for areas of you, it is ready to go.
And also, you get 2 free gifts with your performance package, and one of them is boxers. And I have to say, I know for a fact Andrew loves these damn boxers.
They're great.
You wear them as much as humanly possible. Like they're like the first ones out of the wash.
Yeah.
You know when you go through your cycle and you're like, I'm excited about this one. You love these Manscaped boxers.
The day after laundry day when you're like, now it's time to put the favorites up to the beginning of the rotation, it is the Manscaped boxers. They're so comfortable. They're so smooth because they just want you to have a comfortable business.
Everything's comfortable with them. And also right now, every purchase at Manscaped goes towards contributions to the Testicular Cancer Society to bring awareness to testicular cancer, men's health, and early cancer detection. And that is wonderful.
That is brilliant. Contributions to the Testicular Cancer Society. And you can still make that contribution, get a great product, and you can get 20% off and free shipping with our promo code, which is TFS20 over at manscaped.com. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code TFS20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use promo code TFS20. There's gold at the end of the rainbow, and that is Manscaped.
Thank you, Manscaped, for your support.
For your Patty's Day gold is what they got going on here.
Patty's Day.
That's happening. And now let's get into the episode. Let's talk about WandaVision. And spoilers ahead.
Spoilers.
All right. Spoilies. It was Agatha all along. White Vision is here. Pietro from the X-Men movies. All the spoilies.
Andrew has gotten it out of his system.
Billy and Tommy.
Wanda is the Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Vision dies again. Vision dies again.
That guy can't get a break.
He can't catch a break.
He can't catch a break. It actually, you bringing up like she's the Scarlet Witch, it is weird how collectively we all know enough about the comics that this character was Scarlet Witch to all of us. And it wasn't until it first came up in the show, like late in the season, episode 7 or whenever, when
very
Agatha
late. The
says,
second to last episode. She's like, "You're the Scarlet Witch."
and it's like blump blump blump. And it wasn't until like in that moment didn't even hit that hard for me because it was like, oh yeah, I guess they've never said that aloud. It's a little weird. We all know that that's what she is.
To the rest of us, we're like, yeah, that's her name.
Yeah.
It's like saying you're Wanda. We'd be like, yeah, she's Wanda.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like everyone who doesn't have a movie, their name doesn't come up very often. Like, I'm not sure if Sam's ever been called Falcon. I'm not sure if Hawkeye's ever been called Hawkeye. I think they just call him Clint every time. Like, people who don't have their own movies, their code names don't come up very often.
Fuck me, you might be right there.
I mean, Bucky was only called the Winter Soldier because he was the Winter Soldier in the movie, and they said his name once, and he's never been called that again because they're like, you're Bucky.
Well, and also that's his bad guy name. I feel like he's not super down with that.
It would be rude.
Yeah.
We're going to call you what Hydra called you. But yeah, if you're not a main, you don't get that name used very often.
Interesting.
I think War Machine might be the only one because they make a joke about how that's a bad name.
Yeah. And then he becomes the Iron Patriot, which is the better name.
I like War Machine more.
Yeah, I like War Machine more. But anyway, she is the Scarlet Witch, and even in the show, she's Wanda. It's WandaVision.
He's Vision. She's
Vision.
Wanda.
She's Wanda.
No code name.
She is not the Scarlet Witch. She becomes that later. But this is a phenomenal show that we've adored, it would seem.
I absolutely loved it. And I was so confused by some people very early on in the show complaining that it was kind of slow, which I thought was so baffling because I loved everything the show did. Like when it was just parodies of sitcoms and with just a little bit of creepiness underneath, I love that. I would watch 9 episodes of just parodies of sitcoms with superheroes. Like nothing weird's going on. We're just doing straight parodies. I'd watch 9 episodes of that. I'd watch 9 episodes of the sad stuff and the action stuff and the dramatic stuff and the action stuff. So the show arced so well into its comedy. Oh, a couple little serious things are happening. It's action. It's very sad.
Yeah.
So well and so seamlessly.
Well, it's strange to say. I completely agree with what you're saying, and I saw those criticisms early on of a lot of people being like, it's moving too slow. I don't like that they're dedicating a full episode to being a pastiche of an old sitcom, which I really loved the pacing of that. Also, I don't know if anyone else noticed this or if this was just kind of like my social sphere. Pastiche came in real hot and hard with this show. Did anyone else notice that?
I did not, because when you used it just now, I was like, ooh, Andrew's got pastiche in his holder.
Well,
and ready to go in the guns.
So maybe this was just like my film Twitter people or whatever, but it was when the show started, everyone was like, every episode's a new pastiche. And different people being like, what? And people who don't know each other, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Did you get gaslit about the word pastiche?
Everyone had pastiche in the chamber, and I know that there is a difference between pastiche and homage, but it's razor thin. Those words are hairline close to meaning the same thing. And I thought that like 20 years ago, we all agreed we've given up on the word pastiche and everything's homage. We don't need to split hairs.
I mean, to me, it's homage or parody, and this definitely isn't parody.
It's not parody, it's not satire.
This is homage. But it might be pastiche.
But apparently, anyway.
I would have to genuinely Google the definite definition of pastiche.
So pastiche came in hard. So I saw a lot of people criticizing, being like, why are we dedicating full episodes to a pastiche of a certain genre? I loved that. I loved that pacing. It also allowed them to beat out an entire episode in the amount of time that type of television would take, which felt real and grounded, but scarier at times. The fact that we were trapped in it, the fact that it wasn't matching the pace that we as an audience wanted made it feel more like a weight on my chest. It felt scarier.
Oh, I don't know if it felt scarier for me. To me, it felt more fleshed out. Like, I love that they let us live with Wanda and Vision for a few episodes before things got sad or too dark. Like, you got to have just wacky adventures with them and have fun with them and be like, oh, they are so cute together. They love each other so much, and they're just having.
And they are cute.
They are fucking adorable. These two have amazing chemistry, and I love them together. But yeah, I didn't. There is the unsettling parts, but I only felt unsettled during the unsettling parts. Like the first episode when the guy's choking and the wife just keeps laughing and she's like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And then it goes into like weird Dutch angles.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool and so creepy, but it goes right back into regular sitcom. Like well-written sitcom too. Like a funny show.
Oh yeah, a great show. And that was the thing. They nailed the writing of these genres and these styles that they were going for. They absolutely nailed it. But where I agree and kind of diverge from what you're saying is that those moments, like in the Honeymooners episode with the stop it, like pleading for her husband's life, whether or not that was her husband in the real world or just a stranger who was cast as her husband, I don't know. But pleading for his life and then snapping back into it. The fact that we as an audience, we've seen the fear in this moment. And we always kind of knew something was wrong. But now we know something is horrifyingly wrong. And we have to go back and finish the third act of an episode. That, I think, really put me as a viewer in a seat where I can relate to everyone who's trapped in this world. That felt heavy and scary to me. The fact that we're not moving at a peppy Marvel pace. We're not moving at the pace where it's like, okay, I get it, we're trapped, let's move on. No, we don't get to move on because they don't get to move on. Like, we get to move on. We're not in control. Like, we might want things to be peppier and move a little faster, but we don't get that because Wanda hasn't allowed it yet.
Wanda's in control.
And that I find scary, even when things got back to normal sitcom tropes.
Okay, I think I get what you're saying, but that wasn't... Because to me, I think I had that exact feeling, but at a different moment. To me, that moment of really unsettledness that really scared me and stuck with me was when the scene kept going over the credits in like the 80s episode, right before Pietro shows up. Like Wanda and Vision are fighting. And Wanda's like, I don't want to fight anymore. And the credits start rolling. But Vision's like, we're finishing this argument, and like follows her into another room. And I'm like, the episode should be ending. Like, there's credits. And it's like, it was so unsettling that the show just kept pushing through it, and that Vision wouldn't let the episode end and really was breaking the fourth wall that I was like, I had put there myself and that the show had put there. There was so much happening, and it disturbed me to my core watching them fight underneath the credits. I think that was my moment for me of the very disturbed.
It was all pretty unsettling. They did a really good job of the horror of this. Different things will hit for different people, but the horror really landed.
Yeah, they found people find different things horrifying. Like, whenever Vision would wake someone up and they would just be completely agonized.
To the point that he would have to put them back under to give them relief.
So he could be like, oh shit, no, oh God.
So he could process
put it back
what
in the
was
box.
going on. Yeah. Well, I think the show, like, on those genre sitcom pieces, the pastiches, if you will.
If you fancy.
I think they did a really good job of hitting those sitcoms and hitting those genres and doing storylines and fun beats within that really, really well. Like, the Magic Show was Flourish is wonderful, and Drunk Vision, because he's got gum inside of him. And
they do this fun little like animated part of showing what the gum's doing to him. He's the most complicated animatronic being in the world.
But it's just gears that are turning, and the gum literally is gummed up the gears.
Oh, yes. This was one of the best pieces of comedy I've ever seen. Just straight up, like, not in the world, nothing stressful happening. Just Drunk Vision, Flourish, and Wanda trying to cover up all of his actual, like, magic with magic.
Yeah.
There was a lot of levels happening. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it worked really well. And these two play off of each other really well. Like, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen are a great comedic duo in this. They work terrific. And Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany is someone I always knew was a very talented actor. And Elizabeth Olsen was someone who I didn't realize had this level of range in performance.
I would agree with that, yeah, because I've been on the Paul Bettany train for decades. I've had a crush on Bettany since Knight's Tale, which was like 2002. So I've been crushing this man for a while. But yeah, Elizabeth Olsen, like, if she was going to have comedic talent, she's very good. I always expected it to be like, not that everyone is their family, like her sister's level of Full House comedic talent. Like, I can read my lines and I'm cute. But she's very good. She's very funny in this. She's not as funny as Paul Bettany because he's a treasure and I think mainly a comedic actor, but she's wonderful. And also dramatically, she's knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, she really does crush it. This show makes an effort to highlight, at times accidentally and at times purposefully, initially it was accidentally highlighting that accent was what was holding her back as a performer. Then they hang a lantern on it, which I don't really think makes it better in this scenario. It is funny the couple times when Pietro is like, "What is that accent, sis?" Like, calling her out on it being terrible. And at that point, she had been doing American accent for so long. We were watching it, and I remember us even saying to one another, oh, good, they're just going to kind of give up on that accent.
We thought, she's lived in America long enough. Yeah. It's just gone.
And Pietro calls her out on it, and then I think that episode is when she leaves the bubble, or maybe more recently, or
I think
close
she
to
left
that.
the bubble the episode before, and that was when she went full accent when she attacked Sword.
And immediately we were like, oh
oh
no.
no, the accent. But the accent did serve as a very useful tool in its own way of we know when she's like broken out of her own bubble within the bubble. Because like when she came out and had full accent, I was floored because I honestly didn't think till that point that she knew what she was doing.
Oh, okay.
To me, that was very important that she had the accent because that showed me like, oh, this is the real Wanda and she's fully aware she's holding these people captive and that this is a fake world. Until that point, I wasn't sure if she knew it was a fake world.
Okay.
Or if she was doing it subconsciously.
See, I think
when she comes out full accent with Sword, I was like, oh, okay, so she's all in.
I think I was too distracted by the fact that it got bad all of a sudden from such a wall-to-wall, 98% flawless, perfect, award-worthy performance. And then that. It was like watching a professional athlete, a sprinter, run at incredible speeds. And then she left that bubble, and then it's like watching that sprinter be chained to a boulder. And I'm like, oh, wow, they gave you can't do any of the things now.
You were doing so good.
Accent work is, it seems, the one thing Elizabeth Olsen can't do. And she can do drama and comedy, and she can nail both with charm and charisma and terror and fear and be imposing, but also be gentle and fearful. She can hit everything except accents, and it hurts so hard when she has to bring it back.
It hurts so hard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel even within the last few episodes they phased it out. Because when she first starts fighting Agatha and she like becomes herself, Agatha even says that accent really comes and goes. I wrote it down. So Agatha's even like, accent, oof. But then I feel like in that final episode, I don't remember the accent at all. Like when she's saying goodbye to her kids and Vision, like it was very soft if it was still there. I feel like even she was like, I can't say goodbye to Vision with this accent. It's not gonna be good.
Well, and that's the problem, is that it was exactly what Agatha Harkness says. It comes and goes. And it was still doing it at the end where it's big emotional scene with Vision, and in order to be a dramatic actor, which she can do phenomenally, she had to drop the accent. But then she would stand up and be like, and now it's time for me to say goodbye. And I'm like, like just for one or two terrible words.
I mean, it's amazing that she can still be kind of good even with the accent when the accent's so bad. Because when she does confront Sword, she's so powerful. And it's so cool. When she does that little hand flick and all the guns point at Hayward.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I nearly screamed. It was so good. But like she wasn't talking when she did the hand flick. So
that is one consistency thing that I really like about the show between her and Agatha. That the hand gestures that Agatha does, they took something that I think was created for Elizabeth Olsen's performance of Scarlet Witch in Civil War. Like these like little finger hand movements that she does.
I mean, she's been doing them since day one. She's been doing them since Ultron.
Oh, right. Ultron was sorry, that was me just
okay.
mistaking where
Fair
she
enough.
first showed up. So since Ultron, it's something that I think that movement coaches, Marvel, and her kind of created. Because it's not necessarily a comic book thing. There's been hand gestures, but the very specific fluidity, but also jaggedness to it. And it's not what Doctor Strange does. Strange does something different. It's really her own thing.
Yeah, Strange feels like he's doing a martial art when he's doing his hand motions.
Yeah.
And she feels like she's just feeling it. She's just vibing.
Right.
But like she's like, this is mine.
But Agatha,
she's forming it as
but
she makes
Agatha's
it.
matching that. I don't know if you noticed and felt that.
didn't
Agatha's
really.
hand gestures when she's manipulating magic is, I think she probably brought on the same like movement coach and got these same gestures down to create a world where like this is the movement of magic. And it's little details like that that I think makes it really rich when they're facing off, where they just subtly have this same type of movement and chaotic like finger energy to pull together magic and shoot it at one another.
Yeah, I do like that because it's very easy to be like, I'm shooting magic and just do big arm waves and kind of just like throw your arms around. But like these little tiny movements of like forming it and shooting it, I really like.
Yeah.
I think it's nice. And since we're talking about hand motions, I do want to talk about briefly how much I love what they've done with how Wanda's powers have evolved through this story. Because I really, really like the explanation of her powers. I think this is my favorite thing about Wanda, because it has never made sense that she got her powers from the Mind Stone.
No, none at all.
It made sense that she got the telepathy powers,
Right.
but it never made sense that she got telekinesis from the Mind Stone or that Quicksilver got fast from it.
Yeah, I think it made some gentle sense in Age of Ultron when her main characteristic was someone who gives people vision nightmares.
Yes,
like
she did
mind
that.
nightmares is what you get from her, and that was her primary driving force in that film.
For the first half. The second half, she's just destroying Ultron robots. But the first half, she was like, "Ooh, I'm going to give you bad dreams so you can put them in the commercial and pretend they really happened." Hated that. But yeah, the explanation that the Mind Stone didn't give her powers but unlocked the full potential of her powers is just so wonderful. Like, she had them originally. She's the reason the bomb didn't go off. And now the Mind Stone unlocked them, which is why if you don't have powers, it just kills you. So I guess Pietro also had some kind of weird...
Some latent something.
Some latent fastness.
Yeah,
to
or
him.
her chaos magic is what caused him to survive being experimented on.
Ooh, if she went first, yeah, she might have protected him. That's a cool
Yeah,
idea.
even if she didn't go first, she had the inherent magic to protect him her whole life. So it would seem that she did.
Aw, and then she didn't during Age of Ultron.
She didn't then.
She
Yeah.
really messed up
Yeah,
on that one.
well, let's not put that on her. But
No, that's fair. Pietro made his choices. But yeah, this was great for her. I absolutely love this because it never made sense to me. And I was like, this retcon? I don't usually love a retcon,
Yeah.
but I love this retcon.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's a retcon because I think that is why it works. It's not a retcon to be like, we want to do a fun, different thing with this character, so let's rewrite it and make it different, which is something that movies, comic books will commonly do. We just want a thing to be different, so we make it different. This doesn't feel like a retcon in that sense. It feels like something that truly enriches the character's backstory and makes everything that came prior better, frankly. It improves upon it. It is...
Yeah, it doesn't change anything we knew. Like, it doesn't erase any facts that they presented before. It just gives you more information. You're like, oh, okay, now this is more fleshed out. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for this extra information.
One episode that I will say would be like a negative for me, like one that I feel like didn't land. I know.
Negative.
I know.
In WandaVision.
I know. It's
All
crazy.
All right. You get one.
I'll get one. Would be that all of the sitcom styles, they all, I think, really worked as a sitcom and as a standalone episode, and they nailed that style and genre, except for the mockumentary episode. I feel like that was the one that really missed the mark. It's just, and especially when the previous one was the Malcolm in the Middle one, and that one really landed. But the mockumentary style, visually, they got the style down really well. Like these push zooms that they would do in, the interstitials, the interviews that they would do directly to camera. They laid it out and visually did it like an episode of That Is Done. But the writing wasn't there for that, and they couldn't decide between, and I don't recall if she had a DVD of a mockumentary show. Because remember how she has like the DVD box sets.
But I feel like Malcolm in the Middle was the latest one in there.
Yeah.
Because she had to be like 10 years old.
Yeah, that was
so
like
The Office wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
So there was no Office, there's no Modern Family. So it's just kind of, I think it was supposed to be Modern Family because she's a family.
I think
and they do the interstitials that way?
I think it was. And I think the problem was in the writing of that episode because mockumentaries might all feel the same, but they were filming it and presenting it like it was a mockumentary in the style of Parks and Rec or The Office. Mm-hmm. But it was more in the style of Modern Family, but there is a big difference between those two, whereas Parks and Rec or The Office are a joke-driven mockumentary, whereas Modern Family, the comedy is from traditional like sitcom structure, and it is situational, and it is more story-driven comedy, and it is not punchlines. Characters don't tell jokes. Whereas in Parks and Rec and The Office, there are jokes.
Joke.
Like jimming the camera. That alone in itself is a punchline. Whereas Modern Family doesn't really have like set up punchline. It is truly situational. So it was written like a Modern Family, but they weren't letting the situation tell the jokes. But they just couldn't decide, like, was this a story-driven joke format or was it a joke format?
I kind of get what you're saying, and I agree that episode was the least funny and the least dramatic, because I think that was kind of like the halfway point of both. We're still, because it's the last pastiche. It's the last pastiche episode they do, but it's also half like Vision's figuring things out. We find out Agnes is Agatha, and Wanda's having a mental breakdown. So it's kind of straddling like out of the pastiches and into the pastiches.
Yeah.
But also the jokes weren't very funny that episode, just flat out.
No.
And I feel like it is more of a Modern Family, and that was the right idea, because I feel like Office and Parks and Rec are very like, we know the camera's there and it's following crazy situations around. And on Modern Family, I feel like they are never aware of the camera or look at it.
Right, other than their
Other than the
interviews.
interstitials, which is what they're doing here. But yeah, this episode just couldn't decide what it was. Like, everything's breaking and Wanda's trying to fix it, but you don't feel why, and you don't feel a tension there, but it's also not funny that it's breaking.
Yeah.
So the comedy's not working. So yeah, I would say that episode is maybe a bit of a negative. The positive, though, is everything with Vision and Darcy in that episode.
That was a delight.
When Vision's doing an interstitial and then realizes halfway through, he's like, wait a minute, no, she wants me to do this. And he takes his mic off and he walks off set.
Seeing a lapel mic, seeing a lav mic clipped onto skin? I don't know what
was it magnetic?
Like, what was it what part of Vision was that clipped onto? But seeing the lav mic on Vision, I think, was a hilarious touch and detail. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did a really good job in visually presenting that style, and just writing wise, it wasn't quite there in that episode. But Paul Bettany and Darcy, I think, were ready to sell that style.
They were, but also I think their parts weren't in that style when they weren't doing interstitials, because they're just in the van and they're having weird jokes happening, because like they're having all this like traffic at the lights, and then a bunch of kids cross. Like, that's not Modern Family jokes. This is absurd humor.
Right.
This doesn't fit the style of this episode that we've chosen. So that episode didn't really work in that way. I liked a lot of the things that were revealed. It's where we get Agatha all along, which is all anyone really remembered at the end.
Which I don't really like.
I will say I liked the reveal, and I liked the song just fine. But everyone acted like it was the best thing ever. I couldn't tell you the tune of it if you put a gun to my head.
Yeah.
I've lost it completely.
This is mass hysteria. I don't know what people are talking about. I adore the character. I adore the reveal. The song. I'm just talking about the song. It's nothing.
I agree.
It's less than nothing.
It was real fun, and Catherine Hahn is always amazing.
A delight.
Her winks and her nudges of like, it was me all along.
Legendary performer.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. But yeah, the song itself is nothing and didn't deserve the hype. I'm agreeing on this one.
Real bland.
We have declared.
Yeah. But yeah, the internet went wild for it, and I'm just like, I feel like I'm being gaslit.
This is no toss a coin to your Witcher. Like, there are better songs within TV shows we've seen recently. Agatha all along, this ain't it.
It is nothing. No. It is nothing at all. Great reveal, but nothing.
And was it Agatha all along?
And it wasn't.
I
disagree.
All.
Yeah.
It wasn't in any way. She did one thing. She did Quicksilver.
It was Agatha slightly towards the end. That's all it was.
It was Agatha is the antagonist, but it was all Wanda.
Which I am glad it was what it was. The reveal at that end of that episode, when it was, oh hey, it's Agatha. This is Agatha Harkness. She's in control of everything. I didn't necessarily like that reveal right away, because I preferred the storyline they were initially on track for, which is that this is Wanda's trauma manifesting, and it's something that she has to deal with, and it's a very internal struggle, and a relatable and personal and traumatic struggle, and one that I wanted to go on with that character. Then with the Agatha All Along song, suddenly it became very Marvel movie. It became very much not a protagonist's internal struggle for their internalized traumas, and it became, what if a stronger wizard did it? And that is a very straightforward superhero movie thing.
Yeah, it's a very much, this is a reveal for the comic book fans who knew who Agatha Harkness was and thought it was always Agatha Harkness, who thought Agnes was Agatha, and it was Agatha all along.
Yeah.
But
to be like, this show isn't for you normies who are watching it for the emotional arc of this character. It's for the comic. So thankfully they did pull that back, though.
They did, which was so hilarious. Like, the next episode after made Agatha All Along so funny because it's like, it was Agatha all along. She did all of it. And literally, like, her next line in the next episode is like, how are you doing this, Wanda? It's a whole episode about her not knowing how Wanda has done any of this.
She has no clue.
But it was Agatha all along.
I don't know when Agatha showed up. So at some point, Wanda created the bubble world, created the hex, and then Agatha, I guess, like sensed it or something and teleported herself in there to try to funnel off the energy to grow stronger, I guess.
She said she sensed it, and that's why she came. But she must have come immediately because she's in episode 1 of WandaVision. Like,
Fair
she's
enough.
in the first pastiche.
Right.
Now we're pastiche.
Now we're pastiche people.
Now we're those people.
Yeah, she's in the Honeymooners episode.
Yeah, she brings them the chicken and the dinner and everything. So she's always there. So she came pretty fast.
Yeah.
So,
I can't remember if that was the Honeymooners or the Bewitched episode.
It's Dick Van Dyke, isn't it? But that's the first one.
Dick Van Dyke, yeah.
Because that's what she watches when the bomb hits.
Right.
But yeah, I guess technically, though, it was Agatha all along because her name was Agatha. All along. It wasn't Agnes.
The song's more about her legal name.
I wasn't Agnes at all.
I was Agatha.
All along. So.
I also love the idea that it's like, Agatha, no one knew who you were. There was no reason to slightly change your name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Wanda didn't know who Agatha Harkness was.
Yeah.
If she knew who you were, your face would have given it away because you got the same face.
Yeah.
You didn't change your look.
Yeah, like if you were a body-swapped Thanos, you would have to not call yourself Thanos. Otherwise, Wanda would be like, I know that name, even if you look different. But you could have just been like, hi, I'm Agatha.
Definitely.
Well, let's take a quick break in today's episode to thank our other wonderful sponsor of the episode. It is TeePublic.
It is tpublic.com. They're not changing their names. They've been TeePublic all along.
The whole time. All along.
The whole time they've
all
had
along, one would say.
Amazing shirts by indie artists for a fair price. We're getting a good commission for their work.
Absolutely.
All the hits?
All the hits. You're going to find your next favorite t-shirt or whatever it is that you're in the market for over at TeePublic. Don't let the name fool you. But they have incredible designs by independent artists, which means you're going to get something cool and unique, like the design that I'm liking this week, which is WandaVision, but in the style of the Bewitched logo.
And she's in her, like, she's in her Scarlet Witch.
Yeah. Riding the broom. Riding the
Classic.
broom like a classic Bewitched. So it's WandaVision, and it's called WandaVision Retro, and it's in the Bewitched style, and it's cute as hell. That's what I'm liking this week.
It is cute as hell. Love a good retro mashup. Is it even a mashup if it's actually based on the current thing, which is a pastiche? So many.
I don't think they ever showed it in the show, so it's still a new mashup. It's new to me. I'll say that much.
My shirt this week, because I'm not living in the past. I'm looking ahead already. I got a Falcon and Winter Soldier shirt because I'm already ready for the next one.
For 2 weeks from now, which is wildly soon.
Wildly soon. Bucky. Yeah, it is Bucky and Falcon in front of the Captain America shield, and the shield's cracked, and it's kind of just like they're a team, but they're broken. It's a lot going on. It feels like it's already watched the show.
Yeah.
This design feels like it knows what's happening in the show, which isn't out yet.
It's locked and loaded and ready to go. And if you like either of those designs, you can get it on a t-shirt, on a long sleeve, on a hoodie. You can get it on laptop cases, cell phone cases, stickers, wall art, pillows, masks as well. You've got a ton of different options. So whatever it is you're in the market for, or whatever it is you're looking to get someone as a gift, say, it's going to be there ready for you. And when you buy one of these designs, you support the independent artist who designed it, and you also directly support this podcast as well when you shop through our store link, which is at teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. That's TEE public.fromsuperheroes.com. Head on over there. Every sale supports the artist, supports the show, and thank you very much, TeePublic, for your support of us.
Thank you so much, TeePublic, and thank you all the artists who make all the nice designs.
Thank you, artists.
Little shout out to the artists.
Thank you, artists.
Should we talk about the big, huge reveal
Which
that
one?
everyone was freaking about? The Quicksilver.
Oh, Pietro.
The Quicksilver
Yeah.
Pietro reveal.
Yeah.
This was huge, and then it turned out to not be so huge.
I think it's still huge.
Do you think it's still huge? I feel like with the final episode, it became not huge anymore.
Well, I think that it's not necessarily the biggest moment in canon that this show gave us. I think it is still wild, and people are kind of underselling it now because the joke at the end of the season was that it was just someone who lived in that town who was an actor named Boner.
It was just a boner joke.
It was just a boner joke.
All of this,
which I'm
just for a boner joke.
I am honestly very happy they undersold it like that, because I feel like a lot of fans overhyped a lot of stuff about this show in terms of its impact in the MCU, and there's still some big things that have huge impacts here. And I still think it's a big moment just for the fact that it happened at all, whether or not it happened in canon and is the beginning of the multiverse and the X-Men are here now and people are expecting and asking too much. And sometimes I've been that person, but I like that it's just a silly joke, and it's still huge that they were able to do this in any way that was fun and charming, and people lost their minds for a week, and I think that's delightful.
I'm half and half on it. I feel like I was part of a genuinely huge cultural moment, which felt really cool. Like the entire fandom of everything freaking out about this. Like no character has ever played a crossover character to my knowledge. Like Chris Evans has never played the Fantastic Four within MCU. Like you don't get to play your characters twice. Like this felt like a huge cultural moment, but it also felt like a promise of a multiverse happening here. Like what other explanation is there for the guy who plays Pietro being Quicksilver? Like something must have opened up. And I didn't think like the Spider-Men were going to show up or all of the X-Men were going to show up, but I wanted an inkling that that's what was happening, or like some kind of post-credit scene of like, yeah, we did rip a little hole in the fabric of the multiverse maybe. So it felt like a little bit of a letdown that he was just a guy who lived in the town who happens to look like Pietro from the X-Men universe and is played by the same actor.
Right.
But it's easier to write off that way. It makes it less of a have to watch the show to understand what's going to happen in the movies or where things are going to go. So I liked being part of the big cultural moment, but it does feel like a little bit of a letdown.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from there. See, I was happy with it. I respectfully disagree. I was happy with it, and in fact, loved that they pulled it back. I think that they fulfilled the promise that they set up. You know, this show was just like, it's a town where a bunch of people are mind controlled. Why would Pietro be any different? We've never set up a multiverse at all. Like, by the time that Pietro shows up, they're like, this is not a multiverse. This is a hex. These are mind controlled people. Why would you think that this is anything else? We've not set up that. We've not established that. We've not promised that. And I feel like this imaginary promise that we all kind of collectively came up with, of people being like, they're promising us that they're bringing everyone over. We're going to see Fassbender next week. Be like, no.
I didn't think...
In no way did the show, and I know you didn't think that, but in no way did the show even come anywhere close to implying that at all in one iota. And I really like just ending it with like, it's nothing. Fuck off. We had fun, didn't we? We had fun here.
We did have fun here, and it was great to see Evan Peters again. I do think there was promises, though. Like, as I said, he's from a different multiverse, obviously. They made a very clear point to say that these are not illusions. She is bending reality, which to me can lead to a multiverse break. Then we find out the next episode that Agatha's been doing stuff, and she's the one who made Quicksilver. So like, oh, okay, so Agatha maybe is breaking the multiverse. There were so many things that you genuinely could think meant the multiverse was breaking. That I just felt and I didn't want the show to go there, but I wanted a little hint that like it starts here.
But see, I think the problem there is that, and this might just be like a diplomatic thing where it's too big for the show to do, but the promise there is that kind of fucks up the whole MCU. And I don't just mean fucks up in terms of like, well, then you have to write it into the movies. I mean, then it puts Disney and Marvel in the position where it's like, well, we brought him back and we confirmed that it's the multiverse, and now we can't recast any character without fans being mad. Like it is a full-on lose-lose scenario, because imagine if in this show they're like, this is Pietro. This is the Pietro from that universe.
Okay.
We ripped a hole in the multiverse.
Pulled him out.
It is him. And now we would also like you to meet this new actor who's playing Wolverine. Fans would be like, fuck you. Absolutely fuck. Like, fans would be so pissed. You can now
not redo anything X-Men without completely pissing off the fans.
Oh, I completely disagree. I mean, like, some of them maybe, but like everyone knows Hugh Jackman's done. You have to recast Wolverine no matter what.
I think sensible people like us do, yes, that we understand Hugh Jackman is...
I like to think we're the majority.
No, no way.
There is a loud Twitter minority, but I think we're the majority of people.
I think it's a lose-lose, because even if people have the sense that we do to go in neutral in that scenario, to be like, we get a few of the young actors who they can bring back that maybe they had fun working with and they don't want to recast or whatever. Maybe we're neutral, but a bunch of people are going to be mad and there's no net positive from it. There is no positive.
Maybe. I just don't feel like people are all that connected to the current class of them X-Men. Like, I think it's all James Marsters, Hugh Jackman era who are like done. I don't feel like anyone's like, bring back the X-Men Apocalypse guys. No one really likes them.
I mean, literally for weeks on Twitter, Fassbender and Ian McKellen were trending because people were like, if it's not them next week, I'll kill myself.
Jesus, like, people, who are you following?
Right?
Who do you follow on Twitter?
None of them. But these were like in the trending. People were losing their minds. I think that it is a lose-lose if they even attempted to do that.
All right.
But I see. I see what
you're saying.
I'm sorry you didn't get what you wanted, but I think if I worked anywhere at Marvel and someone proposed that, I would fire them on the spot. I'd be like, you're gonna ruin us.
You're out of here.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay.
I think people would be livid. Livid.
I disagree, but I'm happy that we don't have to worry about it. They did have a good write out at the end of like, it was just a joke. He's not really Quicksilver.
Yeah. It was a big moment, and now they have Billy and Tommy, which I don't know what they're gonna do with that.
Billy and Tommy?
The kids.
I'm sorry, I only laugh because whenever I think about them in the comics, it makes me laugh so hard.
Oh, okay. Well, why is that?
Just because like they died here, and then in the comics they also died. They come back to life because their souls still existed when they died, and then their souls went into some random babies. And they were just reborn via different mothers, but they still consider Scarlet Witch their mom when they grow up and realize they have the same powers as her. And comics are so dumb.
I think they're not going to do that.
And it just makes me laugh every time I think about it. Your babies died and then their souls went into other babies. And I'm like, what happened to those babies' souls? Why didn't
Don't worry about it. They went to the same place that Steve Rogers' body husk did in Wonder Woman 84. Like, don't worry about it.
But yeah, so there's ways they can be alive.
Right.
Because the show did smartly not show the kids disintegrating, even though they showed Vision disintegrating. So like we assume they disintegrated, but like Agatha all along, she comes in, grabs those kids.
Or like,
someone else.
Well, Scarlet Witch is just super powerful now and is full on Doctor Stranging and hears the kid's voice.
Here's the kid. So like they might be in some other realm, some Mephisto realm, or somewhere.
Or she's willed them into existence or something.
You can't just remake them without recreating a whole town.
I don't know. I don't know logistically how they're going to approach this. Obviously, they're going to. That's what they set up at the end of the show with the I can't remember if that was the after credit or the after credit.
That was the after.
The after credit. Mm-hmm. So obviously they are going somewhere with this. I don't know logistically how they're going to do that because they've cast those kids, and through the course of the show they have them as like babies and then age them up a couple of times. But the last 3-4 episodes, they're the same kids.
Yeah.
And they're the same kids in that voice. But there's such a big time between these things, and it's not about the kids. And especially when you're dealing now with 2 kids, like, are you keeping those actors? What happens when one gets a weird growth spurt in between filming and doesn't look the same? Are you going to recast? Also, like, having kids in filmmaking and television making, you now have to acknowledge the passage of time, which, you know, if you're doing Full House, passage of time is a fine thing to admit that the child characters are going through.
But when you're trying to lay out an exact timeline of things like Marvel movies, where during all of Phase 1, they were like, this all happened in 1 week, and it was 10 years of filmmaking.
I remember looking at that timeline and being like, wait, he became Iron Man like 2 months ago?
Yeah, so I think they've retconned that since and spaced it out a bit more. But if you're trying to do stuff like that where 8 years from now, Spider-Man 4 takes place a week after that, but the kids are fucking 20. Do you recast? Like, what do you... It creates so many logistical problems, and it's a situation we've never been in before, with a cross-universe film and television, multi-series, like serialized drama that we have to deal with these issues. But it is a wild and bold choice to be like, we have 2 kids that we logistically have to figure out casting and filming of in a very complex and weird situation.
I feel like they will just age them up into teenagers, that they can put some new cute boys into the MCU with.
They'll just jump and be like, we grabbed a couple of
CW boys or CW wannabe boys, because that's their age in Young Avengers, where they're most famously known for. And also, we have seen Marvel do this, because I'm still upset to this day that they recast Ant-Man's daughter.
Right.
Because they aged her up for the 5-year snap. I mean,
Right.
they did have a 5-year snap to explain it.
Yeah.
But that kid was incredible. And I think it had been 5 years since the last Ant-Man anyway. You didn't need to replace her, and I'm still upset about it. Original Cassie, love you so much. So yeah, I think it is bold to be like, help us, Mom, and use the kids' voices. Because if she shows up and they're like 16 and they're cute boys, it's like, why did your voices sound like that? What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do there. That is a weird one to me. I would have been happy just with her doing the reading. I didn't really need to know her kids were alive, especially because I'm way more interested in where White Vision is.
Yeah, I fully agree.
That is such more of a more interesting, like, no, he's alive.
Yeah.
He's out there with memories now. Mm-hmm. Find that guy.
And I know that Billy and Tommy are characters who are well liked in the comics as adult characters.
I love them in Young Avengers. I mean, Billy more than Tommy, but...
Right. And if the show had have ended with them as adult characters, maybe I would have been more interested in like hearing their voices in there. But at no point in this show or in the greater Marvel universe have I been like, I need 2 kids around. I really need 2 kids around. So that's not doing anything for me. Yeah, hopefully the next time we revisit this storyline, whether it's in WandaVision or Doctor Strange or wherever the hell this storyline takes us, it is just the like, and now they're 21.
Because chaos magic.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Or we relate, who knows? Whatever.
They're the same age as Wanda, because she was like, oh, teens are terrible.
Yeah.
So they're my age now.
Yeah, I would have preferred, I agree with you, an after credit to check in on White Vision, who I'm way more interested in.
I was so intrigued by this storyline. I love, because it was still so genuinely upsetting when Vision died, but like they did leave these traces of him in White Vision, and I adored the conversation between the 2 Visions about the ship of Theseus.
Yeah.
Is that Theseus? Is that the ship?
I think so.
Yeah,
it's close enough. Yeah.
The ship of Theseus. Like, this is a parable that I already love, and like to hear them just discussing, what is it, philosophies about life and sentience. I love this kind of stuff. I thought it was so interesting. I adored it.
An essentially afterlife vision, like the vision from the Hex. Mm-hmm. The essentially afterlife vision trying to out-philosophize a reincarnated Vision was some real The Good Place shit. Where I'm like, you cheaty Anagonye son of a bitch. You were going to try to out-philosophize one another.
This one's Cheaty. This one's Eleanor. Yeah. They're going at it.
You trolley problem bitches. Look at you. Look at you go.
The ship of Theseus is on a trolley. It's going to run over 2 people.
Yeah, that was a real interesting choice and really fun, and it felt just psychological and playful and a good way to give birth to a potentially new Vision as well.
Yeah, it felt playful, it felt fun, and this was one of the only, not that the show looked bad, but I was very amazed when Vision fought Vision. I'm like, man, this feels movie quality.
It really did.
Every Disney Plus show, and there's only been Mandalorian in this one, I guess. So both Disney Plus shows just go all out on movie level effects, which is wild because this is 9 episodes.
Yeah.
And all the effects look incredible. I love when things change within the world, because it looks like the shell of things are changing It doesn't look like they've gone into the body of anything that changes, and I really like that for some reason. It's a really cool idea for how to affect the reality of something. And the Vision fight was spectacular. It must have been so hard. He's phasing through himself. It's two Paul Bettany's.
And the phasing through itself and just the fun ways that they came up to choreograph combat of a Vision fighting a Vision is something that we hadn't. It was a type of fighting and fun little beats that we haven't gotten from the MCU previously.
Yeah, because I think Vision has never had anyone powerful enough to fight him.
Yeah.
Because, except for Thanos, obviously, because he kicked his ass. But other than that, I mean, when you think about Civil War and the airport fight, Vision's just gone for most of that fight for no reason whatsoever. If you've ever rewatched the airport
he's just
fight.
floating around. Don't worry about it.
He takes like one shot at Giant Man. He goes through his chest, and he's not in the rest of the fights. Just because he could wipe out all of Team Captain America in half a second.
Yeah.
No problem. Except obviously Wanda, because she also kills him later. So she's broken powerful, as we've found out. Oh my God, speaking of broken powerful, that's my favorite line that Agatha has in this. I wrote it down. Where is it? The Scarlet Witch exceeds the power of the Sorcerer Supreme. I could feel fanboys explode. I could feel their rage. Just preemptively. I was like, oh, they're going to hate this. Facts about power levels?
That is true. Fanboys do hate that. I will argue, though, and I mentioned this to you, that I don't think the hate will be that large. Like, I don't think it'll be as large as if in canon they were like, Captain Marvel's stronger than the Hulk or something like that. Because then fanboys would be like, no, not Brie Larson. But
not our Hulk.
Not our Hulk, but I feel like there are no Doctor Strange stans. Like, people like Doctor Strange, and he's definitely grown in terms of fandom as being part of an ensemble more than when he was in his own movie. But there still is not Doctor Strange stans, at least for film Doctor Strange.
There really aren't, but I agree with that part, actually. I feel like the Doctor Strange stans are the Benedict Cumberbatch stans, which are mostly women, probably for the most part, or heterosexual women who are like, oh, Sherlock, we still love you from that.
Old Benny comes.
Old Benny comes. Where'd your curls go? So yeah, I can agree with it to that extent, but there's still definitely some angry guys out there, which I really love. Because even within the show itself, a few episodes earlier, there was an argument about who was stronger, Captain Marvel or Wanda.
Right.
Because they both fought Thanos.
Oh, okay.
They brought it up briefly in the sword room. So it was nice. So it was kind of funny for a few episodes later to be like, definitively, this one is Wanda is stronger than Doctor Strange.
Right. Or, as if you take the word of a witch. I mean, do you take the word of a witch?
I take the word of the Darkhold.
Yeah, fair enough.
The book said.
The book says it.
Books can't lie.
Books can't lie. That's legal.
There was probably a footnote in there with a citation.
And she is full on stranging at the end, reading the book in like super fast time, ethereal space while making some tea or whatever.
She's doing it all. I can't wait for when she meets Doctor Strange. She gets to stroll right up to him and be like, stronger than you.
Stronger than you.
Holds up the book.
Definitive.
Check it out, buddy.
Check it out. Benny comes. She calls him Benny comes.
And I didn't even have to fucking read like you loser.
In canon. That's weird. She's like, huh?
How did you know that I read things?
Wait, what? I will kind of hop over to one other small negative of the show.
Oh, hit me.
Because so far, really, my only negative was they didn't nail the writing style of a mockumentary. That's it.
It's a pretty reasonable one that they didn't nail.
And Elizabeth Olsen is not good at
we can all agree on the
vaguely Slavic accents. The other one is that I think Sword is bland. So bland. I like Monica. I like Rambo. I really like her tragic backstory. Like, this background of, I don't really care that she knew Captain Marvel as a kid.
I like that they don't bring it up too often.
Yeah.
They kind of only brought it up enough for you to be like, this is the kid from Captain Marvel, by the way.
I'm cool. I'm like, I don't care about that, but I'm okay with it. I love the idea of like her mother's cancer going into remission and her blinking and her mother surviving and the like post-revival survivor's guilt she's dealing with and the horror of the unblinking
Oh my God, when she unsnapped in the hospital, I mean, talking about amazing effects.
Yeah.
The dust of her body reforming and then just in the chaos of that hospital, that entire sequence was incredible.
Really, really incredible.
And you're right about, like, at the end of Endgame, everyone came back and they're like, oh, the world's better, everything's happy, but there's still very tragic stories within the snap.
Yeah. And that felt like, in that storyline, it felt like she really related and moved parallel to Wanda, like someone dealing with internalized trauma, and how do you present that, and how do you move forward with your life and deal with that. And I really liked her then as a character to confront Wanda, someone who does understand her and move on with that. But it felt like about halfway through the season, they just kind of gave up on that aspect of Monica, and Monica just became someone who was at odds with Sword. But we only just introduced Sword, and I've got no attachment to Sword. I don't know who this dude is. I don't fucking care. He is just an evil dude who's the head of things, and it felt very bland.
I'm not going to say bland, just Sword is bland, you're right. I would say those parts aren't bland because it's Monica and Randall Park and Darcy. Like, that's a trio of fun. So they made it work with standout characters, but Sword was written not as a good foil. So Sword itself isn't interesting in this show. There's nothing about the fight against Hayward that is compelling. Like, Monica is cool because she's really determined to get in there and help Wanda, but there's not really much pushing back against her except a literal force field that she can't get through.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is stopping her more than Hayward was. Mm-hmm. I will agree Sword was a bit of a letdown because even in the final episode, they try to make it seem like Hayward's been this big bad this whole time. I'm like, I think he's just been trying to stop Wanda and free these people for the most part.
And he's been a somewhat power-hungry white dude in charge, which we've seen, which is accurate. Fair. But we've seen a bunch of times. It would be like saying, like, oh, Cross is one of the best Marvel villains. People would be like, who? The guy from Ant-Man 1.
Yeah,
I think his name was Cross. Like, where it's just like, right. Oh, it's just a CEO head guy who's like, I like being in charge, and what I have but better. And that's it. It's so bland.
It's so bland because what did he even do wrong? Because in the final episode, everyone was like, he lied about Wanda stealing Vision's body. And I'm like, yeah, but he already had the body. Why did he lie about that? Like, he had Vision's body via legal means and was legally and with everyone's knowledge trying to figure out how his body worked.
Yeah.
So then at the end, they were like, holy shit, you're going to jail. You had Vision's body all along. And I'm like, you all knew he had it. He showed you footage of himself working on Vision's body. He's not going to jail, you guys.
Yeah.
He absolutely is not. He's done nothing wrong.
And
I mean, the only thing he did wrong was Vision's will said he didn't want to be revived.
Right.
He broke a will.
Right. And he did end up bringing Vision back to life. The very thing that Wanda wanted.
Thanks,
actually.
Man.
Like, it wasn't our old pal Viz right off the top, but by the time that he met with Hex Vision and got his mind back, I think that is the birth, at least, of a new character, if not rebirth of a previous Vision.
Yeah, because even in Infinity War, they said he might be able to exist as Vision without the Mind Stone.
Right.
So if he's got memories and he's got the body and he's got the wiring, that's probably going to be a Vision. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
And you bring up, like, as a defense of Sword just now, you brought up, like, well, Sword has some great parts of the storyline, like Darcy and like Jimmy.
They're not part of Sword.
Exactly.
They're not part of
like
Sword.
The best parts of the Sword storyline was FBI agent Jimmy. It is private scientist Darcy. It is not the head of Sword, soon kicked out of Sword, and then rogue agent Monica Rambeau. It could have been the exact same story if it was just those three doing shit outside of the circle and outside of the Hex. And that's it. I just don't care about this dude or this organization at all.
I also don't really care about them. I know we got like hints of them with the Skrulls and Captain Marvel, or no, whatever the movie was where Nick Fury was in space at the end.
Right.
And now she's going to go to space. But I'm like, I don't especially care. Sword's always been the one that... Sword is so forgettable to me that it's the only one I never bothered to learn what the acronym means. I think it's sentient weapons something. Like,
Yeah.
I know what SHIELD stands for. I know what all the other ones stand for. And I'm like, I don't give a shit what SWORD stands for.
I also forget what SWORD stands for. I know I do like them in the comics. They have better storylines. But this really felt like they were a throwaway, and I think they're going to be a bigger part of the Marvel Universe going forward. And this plain-ass glass white building with some just milk toast motherfucker who's nobody, who's just like, I run things, but I'm bad. Okay, dude, I really don't care for the SWORD storyline.
Yeah, I'll say that was another bit of a negative. To me, the only other really negative was I think I liked the Modern Family episode more than you, and I didn't like the one where she gave birth to the babies all that much. That one was a little bit lacking in comedy as well.
Oh, okay.
It was very much just like, my water broke and the sprinklers turned on. I'm like, oh, that's some pretty basic. Some basic bitch shit. That was the episode where she shot Monica out of the hex, though, and like used her powers for the first time. And that moment was haunting when she just breaks character in front of Monica, and she's like, "I was a twin." Then her accent comes out a little bit as it does. So that scene was really good. But yeah, I would say that was my only other negative, the episode where she gave birth to the babies.
Okay. Interesting.
Thought it was a little bit not landing with the jokes.
Okay.
Good energy from Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen. Like, they were
in every episode they have
were
a good
working
energy.
really hard to sell it, but
Yeah.
again, I think the writing wasn't quite there comedically on that one.
All right, I'm with you. And then I think two very positives of the show are Jimmy and Darcy.
Oh my God, do we even have to fucking close up magic flourish Jimmy over here?
Absolutely incredible.
Absolutely incredible. And then you got Darcy, who's Kat Dennings. Oh my God, she should be a bigger star.
I fully agree. Now, that said, Kat Dennings, I'm sure, is set. Two Broke Girls was on for a while.
She got that sweet syndication money.
And there's just something about, like, quiet CBS sitcoms are making people more money than you can fucking imagine.
I know that, and it never feels right, even every time I'm aware of it.
Yeah. Like Walter Goggins, who was he in Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
He was in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Accent McForehead.
Accent McForehead, and he's been on a bunch of stuff, a lot of prestige television. He's a well-known character actor. But, like, he's now on a CBS sitcom, and I guarantee you he's making more from that than any Marvel movie or HBO show that he is broken out on. Like,
it's so
Kat
weird.
Dennings is doing great.
Yeah, it's weird for Kat Dennings to not have to consider WandaVision again, because she's got a weekly sitcom that she was on.
But I agree with you. She should be a bigger star. I am glad she's back in this role. She is a comedic treasure. Flawless, blends in so well into this show, and Randall Park as Jimmy just absolutely crushes it. The close-up magic callback is perfect.
I know so many people must have been excited about Darcy. Can I give you a little glimpse into the world of fanfiction for a moment?
Please
would you
do.
like to see behind the curtain?
Pull back the curtain to fanfic, please.
Darcy is the most popular person in Marvel fanfiction.
Ah.
And I mean out of anyone. Out of Cap, out of Iron Man, out of all of them. It's Darcy, because she's like, I don't really write her, but I think people like to put her as an insert of like, anyway, and
She's an everyman.
She's an everyman, and she gets paired up with characters she's never met. They're like, this one is Cap and Darcy, and I'm like, they've never interacted. So she is like crazy popular to the point where I'm surprised it took them this long to bring her back. Although maybe Marvel's not checking the fan fiction boards.
Maybe not.
You'd think they got a guy
Yeah.
in charge of that. They're so big.
I honestly think that after all this, I'm like, you just give Jimmy and Darcy a show.
Watch it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I guess she could work for the FBI, or I don't know if she's going to be in Thor 3. It's going to be back on Earth because it's got Natalie Portman.
Maybe.
Or Thor 4, I guess, more Thor.
Thor 4 or more Thor. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I hope, question mark. Yeah, but yeah, they were standout highlights of it.
They were a delight. And I think one of my last things to talk about is how emotionally wrecked I was by this show. I was ruined by this. Not to be like a special little snowflake, but I've actually really liked Wanda and Vision for a lot of movies now. I thought they were cute enough in Civil War. And Infinity War, they really got to me. I thought their relationship was so well played out. Their chemistry was beautiful. When she killed him, even way back originally, I was very upset about it. So, like, for me to already be this emotionally attached, and then he dies, and her grief is just like that scene where she's just on the empty lot crying, and she creates him. It's this moment of grief that becomes this beautiful moment where you're like, I just fucking get it, Wanda. I get why you did this and why you just chose not to remember you were doing this because you needed this. Yeah, I was emotionally wrecked by this show in a good way. Like, amazing.
The empty lot thing, I think, was really powerful. That was really heartbreaking as well. Yeah, the empty lot is just brutal.
The empty lot was brutal. I really liked also just because it was kind of easy to maybe say she was the villain, and she was. She held a lot of people hostage against their will, even if it was subconsciously. That's a bad thing. I really did like at the end when they gave Monica the line of, "If I could bring my mom back, I would." I totally get it. It really helped seeing another character empathize with Wanda to think of her as still a hero.
Complicated. Okay, I don't know if I can agree with that.
It's still complicated, but it helped. Like, I really thought she was giving herself up to S.W.O.R.D. to go to jail at the end there.
I think okay. So if I may jump in here, I don't want to interrupt your thought process here, but if I may, I think she should have at least turned herself in to get therapy at the least.
To get therapy,
because it is a nice line of Monica being like, if I could do it to bring back my mom, I would. And that's a very relatable thing, to be like, you wanted to bring back a loved one, I wanted to bring back a loved one. And that's the parallel between those two that I really liked off the start. It's two people dealing with the internalized trauma of loss and a series of complicated life events. And where does that take you? And that was the parallel that we were missing for a while. And Monica just kind of wasn't around for a lot of the stuff in the final episode or two, which I don't really love, that she's just in an attic with fake Quicksilver. But I like that relation between the two of them. But it does feel like Wanda got away with way too much with an oops. Yes, I understand it was partially subconscious. But then for a while, it was not. It was an active decision that you made that all of these lives are worth the fake life of your imaginary husband back. And that is not something you get to oops afterwards. To be like, oops, sorry about that, but we're all good now, right? Where not, you literally sacrifice the lives of thousands to have a pretend play date with someone that you're grieving. And I get that you're in grief, but that is not cool and like the opposite of an Avenger. That is the literal opposite of every Avenger movie, is always just like, one person, will literally die a million deaths if it means 2 other people get to live. And this is very much the lesson of like, how dare any of you get in the way of how I express my grief?
I mean, she did feel bad, but
yeah,
she felt bad, and I will give her leeway for the first couple episodes because it didn't seem like she knew it was her for the first few. But the second she walked out of that shield and confronted S.W.O.R.D. and was like, I'm fully aware of this, and then after it turned out to be Agatha all along, and it wasn't, and it was her. Because if the reveal had been Agatha was doing some kind of mind manipulation and Wanda was doing the physical acts,
right,
you could forgive that maybe. Like, oh, your mind was manipulated, but you were physically making the world. But that is not what was happening in any way. So yeah, she really needed... She needs some kind of comeuppance, she can't just go off on her own. At the very least, I mean, not to just be like, I want more cameos. Doctor Strange should have been like, I'm going to take control. I'm a doctor, and I'm going to train her and give her therapy or something.
Right. Yeah.
You can't just go off on your own and be like, I'll fix it.
You need one regular human therapist who's like, let's deal with grief in a normal, emotional way. Therapy's healthy. And then you need a Doctor Strange type to be like, I am going to teach you the actual power of your subconscious and how to... You need a double whammy of help.
She needs a double doctor.
Otherwise, you are... the villain? Villain. Maybe not the, but a?
Yeah, not giving herself up was surprising. I really thought that's what she was doing in that final episode. But to get back to the grief part.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
I know. I allowed the tangent. Okay. I allowed it. Gavel. And now unallowed. The grief was phenomenal to me. Saying goodbye to Vision. Oh my God, the line everyone lost their mind about, which was so good. What is love? What is grief if not love? Persevering. I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. This was a silly Marvel superhero show, and I'm like, I am going to think about this forever, for decades. I will think about this line. And I'm very moved by it. And I can't believe they told such an emotionally full story about a Marvel character. Like, it's wild to think that Wanda might be the most fleshed out MCU character.
Now, yeah.
Now, because she's gotten 9 episodes to explore who she is and how she deals with things, and we can feel her grief with her, and so we feel way more connected to her than maybe other characters. Like I was ruined by this show, and I actually really want to watch it again and be ruined all over again. I want to have a big cry. You know, sometimes you're crying, but you're like, I can't be too loud because I'm going to miss some dialogue because we're still not done saying goodbye to Vision. I want to watch it and have just a
stifle cry. But yeah, you want to go big. Yeah,
stifle cry.
Yeah.
I did a stifle cry on this watch. I'd like to go for a big cathartic one. Mm-hmm.
It does. You describing like the story of her grief and dealing with that. I don't think there'll be a one-trick pony for their Disney Plus shows. But just immediately thinking about it, I'm like, man, if they did that with Wanda's grief, what the fuck's about to happen with Loki and Bucky? Like, those are their next two. Like, was Marvel just like, let's crush people with stories of grief. Let us hammer you at home, the viewer, with just so much grief.
Bucky's definitely like worse than Wanda. Like, brainwashed by Nazis to kill innocent people, that's gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
Really, your best friend went and did his life without you. Bye.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's got some shit to go through. Loki will never admit he has problems. Even in a 9-episode series, he would never like really dig down, I don't think.
I don't think he would dig down, but he still is the type of character where, and the type of performer where you can see a million things happening under the surface that are never shown.
Fuck, he is so good, isn't he?
And he showed a lot of that come Ragnarok, but with like the timeline change and what version of Loki this is, I don't know. But like Loki, who watched Odin fade away into a sunset before he had to fight his sister-in-law.
He didn't know about
that. I think was an emotional, grief-struck Loki who's lost his mom and his father, or surrogate father.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, that'll be interesting. It is going to be interesting how all the TV show characters will be more fleshed out and kind of have more interesting places they can go. Like, after watching this, I'm so much more interested in Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Because she's an incredible actor. And at first I was like, oh, just like a Marvel Netflix show about She-Hulk. But I'm like, what are you guys going to do with She-Hulk that you need Tatiana Maslany? Because she can do some shit.
Now that said, Tatiana Maslany, I feel like not a lot of people know or talk about it, but she is a phenomenal comedic performer.
I remember her one episode of Parks and Rec was very good.
Yeah, she's very good in that. And just like, I've heard her on like a bunch of like improv podcasts and stuff like that. She's just in that community and she is a comedic delight. So even though she is, of Orphan Black fame, she has a lot of range and ability in a Catherine Hahn potentially-esque way, even though Catherine Hahn is a legendary comedic performer.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I immediately regret the comparison. Actually, not in but she has range and is wildly talented comedically.
Hooray for Catherine Hahn getting some love as well through this show.
Yeah.
And some recognition,
More
finally.
people are recognizing what she can do. And I'd always known she was amazing comedically, and for 6 episodes she was. I didn't know that Catherine Hahn would be able to carry fear and gravitas like she did, because I don't think I've ever seen her do that. And that shook me. That was a new side of her.
I'm not even sure if she did, because pretty much every time she was fearful, she was faking it.
No, I mean like imposing fear on others, like powerful.
Powerful.
Powerful
Okay,
and
sorry.
imposing.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Not full of fear. Fear causing fear. Yeah.
Horrifying?
Horrifying. Scary. Scary and imposing.
She's a scary witch.
Yeah. Creepy, scary witch. Spooks and scares.
Ooh, she did it. I might be WandaVisioned out, unless you got something more.
I think the last like silly thing that I want to mention, just a small nothing thing, but I think you'll agree with me on this, is for the Disney Plus TV stuff, they need a new opening credit.
Oh, it doesn't fit at all.
It does not fit at all.
And the fact that WandaVision had its own opening credits for half the episodes during the pastiches. Like, to have to watch, like, the little, like, comic book scrolly one, which is a great opening for some things.
It's a great opening for a movie when that bass of that Marvel theme has that, like, dun, 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 like, and, like, the comics are, it's, in a movie theater, that hits you in your chest, and you're like, yes, I know what I'm in for. But I honestly, and for a 3-second thing that most people don't think about, I think that really contributed to why so many people were not pleased with the pacing of the early episodes, because it does set a tone. Like opening title cards and even your film studio logo sets a tone, and the flipping of comic books and images of like Captain America throwing Mjolnir, and it's just like bum, 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 and then suddenly it's just like, want to do a little joke about how the sprinklers turned on in this entire episode that is Dick Van Dyke? Like, that is too slow and a change, and it really sets the wrong energy off the top for small stakes fun.
Absolutely agree. And I find it wild that they didn't do kind of fitting each tone of each episode Marvel credits.
Yeah.
That they were just like, this is what they are, and this is a Marvel thing. It's like, but did you watch it? Did you see that it like ruined it? Yeah, one of the few times I would say use the skip intro button.
Yeah. Yeah, which I don't think it even prompts you with, because it's not an intro.
It's a logo.
It's a logo. It's a title card, but it really fucks up the energy.
100% agree. Yeah, it does not set the tone for what you're about to watch. It puts you in the wrong mood.
Completely the wrong mood. Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with why people didn't like the pacing.
Yeah, it fits the final episode.
Just the final one. Yeah.
Just the final, which is mostly a big fight scene. Yeah, I'll agree. I agree. It's a silly thing, but it's real.
It's real. It's there. All right, well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we discussed, what would you change about it? But before we ask that final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, that if you haven't already, please rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We really appreciate it. It helps us move up the charts, get recommended to new listeners. I know you hear every podcast tell you to do this, but forget them. Do it for us.
Do it for just us. We're the only ones you should review, or the other podcasts on our network. 3 podcasts.
Or
max.
Yes.
Or
you start with us, then whoever you want. Do all the other ones.
Whatever. As long as we're first and we're 5.
Someone has to be the first.
It should be us.
Let it be us.
Let it be us. Be the first one to give us a 5-star rating and review. It helps us to move up the charts. We love to read them. It's a great favor you can do for us for free. Takes no time at all.
Costs nothing.
Half a second, and it means the world.
Yeah. So do that. That's a free way to support the podcast. Also, if you want to support the podcast monetarily, you can check us out on Patreon, which is a monthly subscription service where you can support online content creators that you know and love, like us. You can kick in whatever you want on Patreon. If you have $1 in the budget, you can contribute $1. If you have 100, you can contribute that too, or anywhere in between, or however much you can afford, you can hit that level on Patreon. It goes straight to us. It helps us run everything here in the network, and you get cool bonuses for doing it.
You do. And if you've never given to a Patreon, we should be your first. And then you can go down the aisle again to everybody else. It's real easy. It's real simple. You get Tech and Superheroes a day early at the $1 level, at $10 level. You get an extra episode of this podcast every month, full-length episode. You get a nickname from me. There's so much happening.
There's lots of cool bonuses for it. Yeah. And you can sign up at the monthly level. You can sign up at the yearly level, which means that you just pay for the year, but you get the bonus of having a month free at the yearly level. So there's lots of options. Also, you're not locked into anything. So if you're doing a monthly one, you can cancel or change it at any time if your finances change. So even if you only have $1 in the budget just for this month, hit us up with that. It might seem silly. It might seem small to you, but it is big to us. And it all adds up and is a very big deal. And we love our patrons.
We love our patrons. You help us out so much running this network. We appreciate you all. If it's in the budget, if it's not, don't even worry about it. Go leave that review, though. Get on that.
Definitely get on that. And if you want to check out the Patreon levels and bonuses you can get, head on over to patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That's patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now to ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
My big change is Monica didn't get to do enough. This was she really just seemed like a way to give her powers for another thing. And I really liked Monica, and I wanted to see her more involved, at the very least in the finale, because she got a lot of scenes and she got cool stuff like the snapping at the hospital. But she was really not very removable from the finale. She didn't help in any way. I think I would have liked to have seen a bigger fight with Quicksilver. And then I would have liked to have seen her help fight Agatha somehow. I really thought when she pulled the necklace off Quicksilver, she had figured out something about Agatha's magic that was going to help Wanda. She was like, oh, she enchants items instead of just enchanting your mind or whatever. And that would help fight Agatha at the end or whatever. Because, yeah, Monica was just kind of very removable. She didn't do anything in the finale. So I think also Hayward should have been much more evil. He didn't have a plan. He just wanted to fix Vision, which I don't even think is very evil, to be
And I think he
honest.
was like, I want to stop her.
Which I'm cool with. Thousands of people were being held hostage.
Yeah, he was a little too violent. I mean, he wasn't willing to give Peace a chance with stopping her. But
I guess. But yeah, so I needed Hayward to be more violent and then Monica to have a bigger fight with Quicksilver. I would really like to have seen the extent of her powers and then her saving or helping Wanda in some way to fight Agatha so that make her more integral to the story. So more for Monica. More evil for Hayward. And the rest is pretty much perfect with Wanda and Vision. Everything there is adoring. Love it. So good. Not many changes. Really liked this show. Andrew, what would you change?
I can get fully on board with that, with a more active and engaged Monica towards the end. I think on top of that, we need to rewrite this entire goddamn Sword plotline.
And just everything about it from the ground up.
Everything about it from the ground up. Hayward needs to be way more evil. I honestly don't even know at the end of this show if Monica is the new director of S.W.O.R.D. or a solo hero who just is going to fuck off. Like, I don't know because it's such sloppy storytelling about S.W.O.R.D. And even if Monica is the director, it seems like, I don't like it when these storylines are like, there's one bad person at a company, and the only reason that any company or government institution is bad is because there's one bad person. You know how all of the military-industrial complex is actually really good, but one bad person did bad. And if we can just replace them, it's fucking great. Police are great. The military's great.
You just got to get rid of those few bad ones.
The one bad dude. So I really find those storylines super boring. And I much would have preferred it and to bring Darcy and Jimmy into the fold a bit better, if they were part of S.W.O.R.D. I don't understand why they're not already part of S.W.O.R.D. Because Jimmy is an FBI member, and seemingly the only FBI member on planet Earth. None of the rest of the FBI show up. It's immediately all about S.W.O.R.D. Sword. And then Jimmy walks through wearing an FBI jacket, the only man wearing that, and it's dumb. Jimmy should be part of S.W.O.R.D. He's someone who helped with the house arrest of Ant-Man. He's got a meta tie. He's been recruited by this new organization, S.W.O.R.D. He's excited, but he's kind of treated shitty by Hayward. Darcy is a scientist for S.W.O.R.D.
Makes sense.
Because S.W.O.R.D. has been, and realistically would have been, recruiting people with meta backgrounds. Be like, Darcy's a scientist who helped discover Thor and is now a doctor. Let's get her into the fold. Jimmy's someone who's worked with Ant-Man and that house arrest in a post-Civil War Sokovian Accord era. He's someone who understands the political implications of metahuman activity. He's part of S.W.O.R.D. So that would be my big change. Jimmy and Darcy are part of S.W.O.R.D., and the two of them meet Monica, someone they think should be a director, and they all know that there's structural problems with this organization. And then the show ends with each of them being heads of different divisions of that organization. To be like, Jimmy's like, we've had security problems. Monica knows that they've had leadership problems. And Darcy knows that they're having scientific misunderstandings. So Darcy understands the science. Like, this trifecta of these three are going to fix this organization. Because if we're going to see more of S.W.O.R.D., I need to give a fuck.
You need to know that it's not just an entirely corrupt organization.
And Monica, Jimmy, and Darcy are three people who, if this show ended with them putting on a badge that said S.W.O.R.D. and walking into that building, I'd be like, this place is my fucking jam now. I'm all about this organization.
I get that entirely. I think that's one of the reasons we love Winter Soldier so much is because S.H.I.E.L.D. has Hydra in it, and Cap is like, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s done. Hydra's in here. You gotta shut that shit down. It's tainted. No more S.H.I.E.L.D. And yeah, that's kind of what should be happening here with Sword. I agree. If your head honcho is evil, you're gonna be corrupt from the bottom down.
Yeah.
You gotta refill. You gotta either work somewhere else and like those three
Start a new
their
organization
new
or
thing. But them taking it over makes more sense because it was Monica's mom's thing. Like
Right.
she should take back her mom's organization and be the leader of it. I agree. Yeah, love that change. Love it. I would watch the Sword show starring those three in a heartbeat.
And
I'd care about Sword so hard. I'd learn what it stood for.
Yeah, and it would make Monica way more active a character in the finale of this too. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Love it. Great change.
Sword and Monica, we got it. That's what needed to change about this.
Nothing about WandaVision. They're great.
No, they're killing it.
Crushed it.
They're
Title
killing it.
characters, wonderful. But yeah, Monica and Sword need to be fixed up, made more important.
All right, well, that is going to be it for WandaVision. So, that was a ride. God, it's 2 weeks now until Falcon
Till we get on the next ride.
and the Winter Soldier.
Let's do some more trauma exploration.
It doesn't. It comes hot and fast, doesn't it? My goodness.
It just doesn't stop.
All right. Well, we will be back next week. We are building up to the release of the Snyder Cut of Justice League, and we're doing more Zack Snyder.
God.
May God have mercy on our souls. We are doing Sucker Punch next week.
Pray for us. Pray
Please.
for us, and maybe I will tell the story of the Sucker Punch costume contest I entered.
We'll see how that goes. So we're going to be talking about that next week. In the meantime, we are going to leave you with something a little bit different this week. Normally at the end of the episode, you hear our theme song, but instead of our theme song was composed and created by a musician friend of ours by the name of Josh Piche, who's incredibly talented and wonderful. He has a self-titled debut EP that is available right now. If you search for Josh Piche, Josh Piche, wherever you get your music, you'll find it. We'll also put links to it in the episode description. So we're going to leave you with the song Starry Eyes off of his debut EP. But in the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can reach me on Twitter at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can reach me at Words of Diana.
And you can reach both of us at From Superheroes. And we'll see y'all next week. In the meantime, enjoy some of Josh Piche.
Free song, guys.
Yeah.
Free song. A good one, too. I love Josh.
I can't defeat your conviction. Starry eyes. Can't find the words to say, 'cause we got the same affliction. I can't say it's wise, so I won't say. Tell a lie to me, starry eyes. And I'ma leave the words for now. Let me tip my head for a little while, just a little while. Another damn song by being lonely, like the world don't have the blues. Let the boys just walk on hungry like you do, like you do. Like the wind you treat me badly. Starry eyes, come and gone and I'm to blame. But one fine day you're gonna wreck me, and ain't that a shame? That's a shame. Another damn song by being lonely, like the world don't have the blues. Let the boys just walk on hungry like you do. You know I'm fine on my own. the